I swear I only realized something was wrong when I dropped a shopping bag right in the middle of the sidewalk. The handle didn't snap. I didn't trip. My arms just gave out, like someone had drained the strength from them. I stood there, staring at the ground, pretending I'd slipped. But deep down, I knew that wasn't normal. That morning, the sun was blazing and sweat was running down my back. I've always been active, worked in construction my whole life, never needed help climbing stairs or opening a jar of jelly. But that day, even twisting off a lid felt like a test of patience. My name is Jorge. I'm 67. I've been living alone. Since Marina passed, the house is simple, but it's mine. And up until a few months ago, I was still doing small repairs around here. Now, even hammering a nail leaves me with a kind of exhaustion I'd never felt before. At first, I thought it was just the heat, or maybe age. Normal, as the doctor said during our first appointment. He told me to take some generic multivitamin, carry on. But the days went by, and the weakness only got worse. Climbing 3 steps would leave me breathless. I started avoiding going out, afraid I wouldn't be able to carry the groceries back home. I tried to fix it on my own. Bought an expensive supplement I saw on TV. It was a powder that tasted like chalk. It promised more strength in 2 weeks. I finished the jar and didn't feel a thing, except for my wallet being lighter. That's when I overheard a conversation. In line at the pharmacy, an older woman was talking about muscle loss in seniors, like it was something preventable. She said she'd found a way to stay strong without going to the gym or spending a fortune on expensive meats. She mentioned a word that caught my attention: sarcopenia. I'd never heard it before, but it sounded like the name of whatever was stealing my independence. That night, I looked up everything I could about sarcopenia. Turns out it's the progressive loss of muscle mass, and it can start way earlier than most people think. The worst part? After age 50, we can lose up to 2% of our muscle every year. No warning, no pain. Until one day, you drop a shopping bag and realize your body doesn't work the way it used to. But I also found something surprising. You don't need to spend a fortune on fancy meats or colorful supplement jars to get your strength back. There's another way, cheaper, simpler, and more effective. I was skeptical at first, but I gave it a shot. And one food in particular took me by surprise. It cost less than 10 cents per serving, and it made more of a difference than any supplement I'd ever tried. But before I discovered that food, I had to learn one important thing. Not all protein is expensive, and not every solution comes in a capsule.
Before I tell you what happened with Jorge, let me first thank you for subscribing to the channel. That simple gesture really helps a lot. When Jorge came to me, he wasn't looking for a miracle. He just wanted to open a jar without having to bang it on the counter, but the lid wouldn't budge. His arms trembled, and when that grocery bag slipped from his hand, Jorge understood. His body was quietly giving up. In short, he was after something many people forget over time: independence. The truth is, what he was experiencing has a name, a cause, and a solution. Losing muscle mass after 60 isn't a life sentence, it's a consequence of aging, if left unaddressed, and it has a name. Every year after age 50, the body naturally produces fewer hormones that help maintain muscle mass. Digestion also changes, and nutrient absorption slows down. If nothing is done, this silent wear and tear builds up. By age 80, a person may have lost up to 30% of the strength they had at 50. Now here's the crucial point. Muscle does need stimulation, but more importantly, it needs fuel. And the main fuel for muscle is protein. But not just any protein. It needs to be easily absorbed, contain the right amino acids, and be consumed consistently. When I told Jorge that, he immediately replied, "But meat is expensive, and supplements don't do anything." That's where the turning point begins. Not all good protein is expensive, and not every solution comes from the pharmacy. Over the past few years, studies have shown that simple, affordable foods available in any grocery store can help preserve and even restore muscle mass in older adults. The strategy involves 3 key pillars: protein quality, consistency, and affordable variety. For example, The body can't store protein. That's why it needs to be consumed several times a day, not just in a meat-heavy lunch. Plus, slower digestion in older adults calls for protein sources that release amino acids over time. That's how we created the list of the 7 most cost-effective foods for people over 60. It contains a protein called casein, which is slowly absorbed and feeds muscles overnight. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition showed that seniors who consumed casein before bed gained more strength, even without changing their activity level. Beans, a standout on the list, have a surprising benefit. Besides protein, they provide iron and slow-digesting carbs, creating the ideal environment for muscle growth. When combined with rice or oats, for instance, they form a complete protein with all the amino acids the body needs. Sardines are another powerhouse. For under $2, you get a complete protein paired with omega-3s, which reduce inflammation and protect muscles from breakdown. The formula isn't a secret. It's science, made practical. Jorge's strength started to come back when he added just 2 of these foods to his daily routine. He didn't have to spend more. He just swapped the expensive and ineffective for the simple and effective. Jorge followed my advice cautiously. He didn't overhaul everything at once. He started small, along with his usual buttered toast at breakfast. He added Greek yogurt with a handful of oats and chopped banana. For dinner, a hearty soup with beans and bits of boiled egg. Gradually, those colorful supplement jars in his pantry gave way to real food. The rule was simple: 3 servings of protein spread throughout the day, always using accessible foods: sardines, eggs, cottage cheese, tuna, lentils, no pricey supplements or hard-to-follow diets. And the results came quickly. 2 weeks later, Jorge climbed the 7 steps to his front porch without holding the railing. A month later, he was carrying groceries again without that strange heaviness in his arms. He even improvised a little workout routine with resistance bands and water bottles. But the most surprising thing was the sparkle in his eyes when he told me, "I opened the jar of hearts upon by myself." Most importantly, he understood the criteria I used to tell if we're on the right track. 3 signs of progress within the first few weeks. Less fatigue at the end of the day. The body responds with more energy when it gets the right amount and frequency of protein. More stability when standing up or walking. Balance improves when leg and core muscles are supported. Improved appetite and mental clarity. Protein supports neurotransmitters linked to motivation, focus, and mood. These signs together show that the body is relearning how to use what it's given. And Jorge wasn't the only one. I received a message from Donna Nusa, 72 years old, widowed and retired with a tight budget. She always believed protein was only for people with money. But once she started adding lentils to lunch and eggs to dinner, she noticed she stopped waking up tired. What moved her the most was being able to dance at her granddaughter's party without asking for a chair after 5 minutes, and all that spending less than $20 a week. But a word of caution: I always recommend talking to your doctor before making any dietary changes. That's especially important for those with diabetes, high blood pressure, or on long-term medication. No food, no matter how good, replaces professional guidance. But the right mix of expert advice and practical choices can create quiet miracles, like walking with more stability, sleeping better, or feeling useful again. The truth is, our bodies don't need flashy promises on a label. They need consistency, real food, and choices that fit your budget. And there's no age limit to reversing strength loss. The only limit is how long we keep believing it as normal to feel weak as we age. Months later, I ran into Jorge at a small neighborhood market. He was carrying a bag in each hand packed with fruit, eggs, and a small tray of sardines. When he saw me, he raised one bag like a trophy. Now I open every jar in the house. What changed wasn't just the strength in his arms, it was his confidence. The look on someone's face when they realize they can still trust their own body, that they're still in control of their life even after 60. He told me something that stuck with me for days. I thought I was getting old, but I was just getting weak. And there's a fix for that. Yes, Jorge, there is. And it's much closer than we think. It doesn't require an expensive gym, giant supplement jars, or recipes with complicated names. What worked for him and for dozens of others was getting back to basics, using the foods that have nourished generations: beans, eggs, affordable fish, and simple dairy. And understanding that, with the right guidance, small daily choices build strength. It's not a dramatic change that transforms health, it's quiet consistency. It's swapping coffee and cookies for yogurt with seeds. It's adding eggs to lunch and sardines to dinner. It's not skipping meals and finally feeding your body what it really needs. If I had to sum up what I've learned over the years working with people over 60 who want to live with more independence, I'd say this. First, your strength is recoverable. Even if you feel like you've lost a lot, the body responds quickly when it gets the right nutrients. Second, quality protein can be cheap. The industry wants you to believe otherwise, but the studies don't. Beans and rice can be just as powerful as whey protein. Third, you don't have to do everything at once, but you do have to start. Today, I invite you to look at your pantry with fresh eyes. Do you have beans? Eggs, sardines? Start with those. Pick 2 foods from the list and add them to your routine this week. See how your body responds, feel your energy in the morning. Notice how steady you feel when walking. Pay attention to the difference. And now, I want to hear from you. Which of these foods do you already eat regularly? Or which one will you add to your next grocery trip? Share in the comments. Your experience might inspire someone else to start too. And if you'd like to keep receiving practical tips and real stories that help you stay strong after 60, subscribe to the channel. Here, every video is made to help you transform your routine with trustworthy info and affordable solutions.